Hello everyone, this is a new show that we're going to be trying out. I don't know if we'll be doing other ones or how the format will be going
We
forward.
don't even have a name for this show yet.
Yeah,
or a channel to upload it.
Yeah, there's no channel, there's nothing as of this moment. So online, my gamer tags and everything, I go by Warden.
And I go by Z.
We're in real life brothers. So today we're going to be talking about the most recent Blizzard controversy regarding the ban of Blitzchung from the Hearthstone Pro Circuit over last weekend. So we're just going to get right into that, so we don't want to waste too much time with anything else. We're going to do a very quick summary of stuff leading up to now. Most people know about this. And then we're going to talk about new things that I haven't heard people really mention about, including...
Things new as of October 13th.
Yes, and things including statements from Blitzchung after Blizzard reduced the suspension, and statements from one of the casters named Tommy. So, and then we're just going to kind of go into our opinions a little bit in the later half of it. So, let's get into it. So, on October 8th, Blizzard put up the following statement on PlayHearthstone.com, highlighting the rule that they are using to enforce the ban and the removal of this prize money. Basically, the rule says that engaging in any act in their sole discretion that brings negative light to their company will result in a removal from the Grandmasters and taking the prize away. They did this to the casters as well. Running alongside this, on the Chinese social media platform Weibo, they issued a somewhat similar statement saying, "We express our strong indignation and condemnation of the events that occurred in the Hearthstone Asia Pacific competition last weekend and absolutely oppose the dissemination of personal political ideas during any events or games. The players involved will be banned and the commentators involved are immediately terminated from any official business. Also, we will protect or safeguard our national dignity or honor." I also saw this translated as "we will protect the homeland."
Do keep this Chinese statement in mind later, because we're going to come back to the most recent Blizzard statement, and it sort of runs in direct contrast to the Chinese statement.
So a few days would go by with a lot happening. No response from Blizzard, though. They chose to, quote-unquote, assess the situation. But Blitzchung would go on to say that he believed that he was going to get banned from this. And he would say, "I just can't sit around doing nothing while watching freedom being destroyed." Blizzard's employees were walking out. They were covering up their famous slogans. Hearthstone casters were quitting, notably Nathan Zamora, known as Admirable, Ryan Kibler. Both of them have quit and said they won't do any more work for them, which means they will not be at BlizzCon. Furthermore, developer and former team lead of Vanilla World of Warcraft, Mark Kern, would go on to cancel his subscription to World of Warcraft and uninstall all of the Blizzard games, saying it's done, #boycotts Blizzard, and posting a screenshot of the reason why he's canceling his WoW subscription, saying that he helped make the game, and he's calling on Blizzard to stand up for what's right. He would go on to say that he understands Blizzard's in a difficult situation and that much of their current revenue and plans for future revenue are rooted in China. So let's get into what's new, what I haven't seen talked about quite yet. It's being talked about, but not really out there, and it's really the reason why we wanted to make this video. There's a very lengthy response to all this finally from Blizzard posted on October 12th. I encourage you to go read it yourself. It's on Blizzard's actual website. In it, they cite their core values: think globally, lead responsibly, and importantly, every voice matters. They go on to use these to explain why they did what they did, basically defending their position, saying this is about the tournament. He chose to make it about political statement. They go on to explain why they punished the broadcasters as well, saying that their job was to keep the conversation focused on the tournament and on the game. Importantly, they do defend themselves and say they wanted to be very clear, our relationships in China had no influence on this decision, and say that had it been the opposite view, they would have done the same thing. They go on to say that maybe they acted a little hastily and that they think 6 months is a more appropriate suspension, so they do reduce the suspension to 6 months, and they gave him back all his money because he played fair in the tournament. They also do this with the casters and reduce their suspension to 6 months, even though it looks like they fired them, so I guess they're not fired. They're allowed to come back after 6 months should they choose to. And importantly, they returned the prize money to him, saying he did play fair, so he deserves it. Very importantly, they do say, moving forward, they're going to continue to apply tournament rules, including this rule that is very broad and at their discretion. They go on to say that it's very important that every player, everyone in the world, regardless of political views, religious belief, race, gender, or any other consideration, feels safe and welcome in their games. So in response to this, Blitzchung did release a personal statement on his Twitter saying thanks for the attention from everybody, that it's very personal for him. He's grateful for Blizzard reconsidering it and giving him back the prize money. And he does say that he's going to be more careful in the future, saying that he'll show his support to Hong Kong on his own personal platforms. He then goes on to say if he actually accepts the new decision from Blizzard, in which case he kind of splits it into two parts, the prizing and the suspension. For the prizing, he says, yeah, I played fair, I didn't cheat, and they gave it back to me, so thank you. That's, I appreciate their decision. For the second part about the suspension, he said he appreciates them reconsidering this, but to be honest, 6 months he thinks is still quite a lot. He also goes on to say that he wishes Blizzard would reconsider the penalty on the two casters involved completely. And then lastly, he wraps this up asking if he's done, if he's just going to quit, and he says he doesn't know. He says there's plenty of time now for him to think, so he's going to relax and think about it, and he thanks Blizzard and the community and the players, saying, blessing the Blizzard. We also have a statement from one of the casters named Tommy, who's a Taiwanese native. He says, after thinking for a few days, here's my statement. This is roughly translated, so bear with us. Basically says he is a commentator and that part of the winning is the stage where the winner speaks. So he believes that his job was to let him speak and that he did his job to the best ability that Blizzard gave to work with. He then goes on to say that it destroyed his reputation and ended his job. He says he can't accept the decision. And in the past 4 years, he was a gamer, a player, commentator, and he says they don't know how much I invested in this and how much work I put into this. So he said, I'm not going to participate in any Blizzard games in the future, and I'm not going to play them. He said, I understand you have your business considerations, but he has principles, so he is done, and he doesn't know what to do after 4 hard years of work. He says, hashtag every voice matters as a response to Blizzard. So now we're going to talk about our own personal opinions, because we've played games our whole life, and we have our own opinions too. So let's get into it.
Well, to start us off, I think it's great that they decided to lower his ban, but honestly, even though they give him back his prize money, that still seems a bit extreme given what he was punished for. Because he was punished specifically for misusing a platform, and 6 months just seems like it's a little bit too extreme given what's happening here. It almost seems like there's another force involved here, which, I honestly think there probably are other factors we're not aware of involved here.
The factor is China. So I agree, but going back to what you said earlier, about that original statement from the Chinese version of Twitter saying that they're going to defend the homeland. Or their national dignity and honor. It's like, that run contrary to their think globally, lead responsibly, and every voice matters. Because that's not global, that's nationality. That's a nationalist statement. That's pro-China. Straight up. Something that they said that they were banning Blitzchung for, being pro-Hong Kong. But then their own official statement says that they're going to defend their national honor. That's pro-China, that's not global.
Yeah, and one thing to mention specifically about the China statement is that you would think, if they contradicted themselves, then maybe they would have deleted it by now. They have not. Both those statements are still up.
Nope,
They've been up for about 4 or 5 days now, so
yeah, and they're not going to take it down.
They would have taken action by now if they really wanted to.
Yeah, so what they're really doing is they're thinking tactically. That's the actual thing. Think tactically. How can we smooth this over while not pissing off China? Every voice apparently does not matter. And there are ways you can do this. I understand the sentiment that, two sentiments. I understand that, for one, they need to protect their business. That's the sole purpose of a business, is to make money. And they're going to make a lot of money working in China. And honestly, that's fine. That's fine. There's no reason that they shouldn't. But there are compromises that you cannot make. Including their core values. They shouldn't compromise those, and they already have. So if you're going to say every voice matters, you can technically use that to defend your platform, because you can say, this could be a divisive situation, and you're taking the Chinese and negating what they think on the matter. So I can understand that, but the punishment doesn't fit the crime. I guess it's a small slap on the wrist thing, honestly. I don't think that this needed to be anywhere near that. It might have been good just to issue a statement saying, we talked with him and we informed him that's not cool. This is about Hearthstone. We don't want you making political statements up here. And as long as they follow through with that, honestly, that could be fine. That would be fine. Just say, hey, don't do that here. This is my Hearthstone. Stop that. But then they go and take away their think globally and decimate that by making that statement on that's not global. Saying defend the motherland or defend homeland. That's not global. That's just China. So, you know what? Maybe punish them. By the same standards, punish whatever social media dude did that. And make it public. And make it huge. Just as huge. At least match the dang crime. Right?
Yeah, but they're not going to do that, though.
They need to. This statement, this follow-up statement falls flat to me. It's literally just trying to pour concrete over lava. It's not going to work. You're just going to... This isn't going to be good. BlizzCon ought to be a lot of fun.
If there's one thing that Blizzard has successfully done in all this, it's uniting the nation, at least. Like, for the first time in quite a while, the right and the left have actually agreed upon something, because there have been plenty of other companies that have been going to China. This is a very common trend, and other companies have gotten in trouble for this too, such as the NBA, and senators have taken notice of this, and they're starting to ridicule them. Now, granted, you could argue that that's them just trying to get political clout, which I'm not going to agree or disagree with that, because I don't know enough. But either way, it goes to show that this is indeed a very major issue and an ongoing one. And this is one of the first major manifestations of it.
Yeah, well, honestly, I don't think it is necessarily for political clout, because they're agreeing. If everybody agrees, then they're not going to get anybody else on their side. You know what I mean? They're just going to pat their own backs in normal cases, but not this one. They have issued letters to the NBA. We're not going to go into that stuff, saying, condemning it and calling on them to stand up for their American values. These are American companies. They should. If they want to move to China, then move to China.
One thing to get clear from all this is that even within Blizzard's own company, not a lot of people agree. As we previously mentioned, several past and current employees are also rising up against this. We had some Blizzard employees that were standing outside by one of the Blizzard statues holding umbrellas, which has been a symbol of the Hong Kong protests, as well as covering up various quotes on these statues.
The quotes of their core values.
Yeah, of their core values, such as the freedom of speech one, whatever the exact wording for that one is.
Basically saying they don't matter anymore.
Yeah, so you can't really just blame the individual here. It's more like, this is definitely more of like the upper corporate people, because even with, there's just a lot of people are not happy. If you're watching this video, you probably already know about that.
You're probably unhappy. Maybe not.
Of course we are.
But so controversy is not something new to Blizzard. They have done it nonstop, but I would argue this is a little different this time. Sure, they had the thing from last year when they announced Diablo Mobile Immortal, and that nobody was happy because they did not listen to the community, but that was a gaming issue. They didn't listen to the gaming issue, and they famously said, "What, do you guys don't have phones?" I don't necessarily even think that's all that bad. It was dumb for them to even bother to announce that at the BlizzCon in America, because they don't care. They don't care. Just announce it later. So, and then they get nervous, and some dude up there gets nervous and says, "You guys don't have phones," you know what I mean? But this is not the first time they've done that, and not listened to the community and acted, quite frankly, like pompous jerks. They've done it in the past when they said nobody wants Classic WoW. Some guy said, "Hey, have you thought about it? And could it happen?" They said, "No, we're not doing that, and you don't want us to do that." Like, he just said he wanted it. You think you know better than what the guy wants? Like, you total jerk. And then they had forcefully removed private servers that did Classic WoW very well, mind you. It's called, Nostralis, I believe it was. Took it down, and then said, "No, we're not going to do it, though." Like, you had millions of players playing this. Then they finally go and they do it themselves, thus countering what they thought originally. They acted like jerks, but this is what people wanted, and arguably it is more popular than the current game.
This controversy is not exclusive to Diablo or WoW either. Overwatch League specifically has had all sorts of controversies, with the XQC thing a while ago, as well as when they tried to hire that one player they thought was a girl but ended up being a guy, I believe.
Yeah, and then they just call everybody a sexist for knowing what they didn't. They just seem disconnected, massively so, from their own community. And I feel like it's not their developers. The developers are great. These people who make the games, who respond to the community, I think that they're great. I think that this is honestly not the heart of the company speaking. I think it's a few higher-ups in a room that are more concerned about a dollar sign than anything else. And I get it. That is the main concern. But you can get those dollars by also caring. The heart of Blizzard, I honestly don't believe is compromised, because the heart of Blizzard, they showed you. The developers, the ex-employees, they rallied around their love for the game. Mei is now an official symbol of resistance in China. And I believe Zenyatta, right? I saw something about that.
Yeah, he is too. So.
Yeah, in Tibet, because he's a Tibetan monk. So honestly, people are doing this to piss off Blizzard, hoping that it catches enough steam and that China will just be like, well, they're banned now. Can you imagine if they had to take them out of the game?
That'd be amazing.
It'd ruin it. If they just get out of China. I mean, it just changes the meta right there.
It'd be quite ironic, because Blizzard has a history of always having one ability in their games called Blizzard, and that's on May, so China might force them to remove that character that has the Blizzard ability.
Or they change them, make them look different or something like that.
Maybe.
I don't know, but they'll just keep doing it.
Either way, it's hilarious.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for today. I did want to end on a little bit of a note. Blizzard has probably historically been my favorite gaming company. So I don't know how anybody else feels about this or what they want to do. There is that boycott Blizzard. A lot of times boycotts have proven that they don't work, but that's usually because they're politically charged from one side or the other. It seems everybody agrees on this. So if that's what you want to do, then do it. For myself, I don't really know how I feel yet. I don't feel comfortable giving my money to a company that does this, engages in this sort of behavior and then acts and lies and says that they weren't doing it for that reason. Well, then punish the person in your Chinese social media account. But you won't do that. I don't know if you even can. So I don't know how necessarily personally to feel about this. I just know I'm disappointed because I've played literally every single Blizzard game in creation, most of them a lot. Ironically, not Hearthstone, but every other one I've played a decent amount, if not a metric ton.
I have a more, I guess you could say, cynical view on this, because I grew up in the age where games were just on the tail end of being good, and now we got all this microtransaction crap. So I've pretty much grown up with these companies slowly getting more and more, I guess you could say, evil. So
yes,
I want to believe Blizzard's better than this, but over the past couple of years, they've shown, at least to me anyway, that they're starting to turn into something at least I never experienced before. Which I know must be rather painful for you.
Yes, exactly. And we'll explain sometime, but we have a little bit of a different perception on where we came from with games. There's a bit of an age gap between us.
Oh, yeah.
So,
at least over a decade old.
Yes. So, fuck you. No.
What do you mean? It is over a decade
Calling me old. Anyway,
I didn't call you old. I'm barely over 18.
So, that's it for today, guys. So hopefully you liked it. Like, subscribe, ring that bell, all that thing that those professional YouTubers say.
Oh yes, genuine YouTubers.
Yes, genuine YouTubers. So.
And seriously, please tell us how we can improve this. Well, I mean, we've done stuff like this before, but never to, I guess you could say, this capacity. I'm technically in college learning how to do this stuff, but there's a difference between knowing how to do stuff and actually having the experience. So please tell us how we can improve so we can... Yes, improve.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Like I said, we'll see you on the next one, hopefully.
Have a very nice day.